Blackstar25 asked me to build him a Paladin Warlock dual wielder. And as my most popular build is the Red Mage, the dual-wielding Bard Paladin Sorcerer, I wanted to make kind of an opposite. She's part massive AoE debuffer, part explosive dual wielder, and part full-on machine gun. Not only does she use her charisma for both her weapons, but she'll add her modifier 3 times onto each one of her swings. Her Eldritch Blast is built up to do insane damage and debuff people at the same time. Each blast lowers their strength, dex, and constitution and renders them prone to do additional thunder damage. It's the beginning of a massive combo as it adds more charisma modifiers to her attacks as she runs up with her rapiers to unload the rest of her spell slots into huge divine smites. She starts every battle off with a huge advantage by rendering everyone in the entire area completely useless for 2 whole rounds. Massive thank you to Blackstar25 again for the build request. If you want to see a build made by a weapon or a specific class or just a funny theme, drop it in the comments and then we'll vote for it on the community polls. There's chapters below if you want to skip around. See you at the end. The first level we're going to take is Paladin. Now, the oath choice here is really up to you. I didn't really use any of my oath abilities for this build, just being completely honest. But starting off on an honor run with this at level 1, I would highly suggest Oath of Ancients just to have a bonus action AoE heal. It would be very useful until we start using our bonus action for more attacks. Super important though is the stats. I would put 16s in both my charisma and dexterity, 14 in my constitution, and then I would put an 8 in either intelligence or strength. The very next level though is going to go into Paladin, unlocking our spells for Paladin, unlocking our Divine Smite, and unlocking a fighting style. Unfortunately, the fighting style is not going to really assist us into our final form, but it'll assist you in the first early levels. We won't be using armor after the end of Act 2, endish of Act 2, but the defense fighting style will definitely be helpful until you get there. As far as spells go, command is absolutely necessary. The theme for the spell blade I found was time. Every spell combination I used was in use to stop the targets from making actions so that I could make all of the actions. And command is an excellent way to completely halt their turn. Our third level is going to move into Warlock. With our patron choice, I chose the Archfey. This gives us an ability we can use every turn with our action called Fey Presence. It gives us the ability to do an AoE fear or charm effect on enemies close to us. It is incredibly helpful in the beginning to completely stop targets from ambushing you. Putting them all into the fear status gives you advantage to hit them have disadvantage to hit you, and they can't get closer to you. As far as spells go, definitely make sure you pick up Eldritch Blast. We're going to be using that quite a bit. And we're also going to pick up Hex and Fairy Fire. Both really good control spells as far as Fairy Fire goes. And Hex is a fantastic way to increase damage on any dual wielder. The more times that you hit them, the more d6s you're going to roll on top of it. With our next level in Warlock, we're going to get another spell. Armor of Agathis is a good choice. But we're also going to get our invocations. I highly suggest taking the Agonizing Blast. It will add our Charisma modifier on top of all our Eldritch Blasts. And I definitely suggest taking advantage of Devil's Sight. It's probably the best incantation for any kind of melee fighter. Our next level in Warlock is going to open up our Pact boon, in which we are going to click Pact of the Blade. Pact of the Blade is going to allow us to use our Charisma modifier for a specific weapon. Even though our charisma modifier is the same as our dexterity right now, eventually it's going to be higher. We'll also have access to second level spells, giving us the best second level spell in the game, Hold Person. Paralyzing a target that fails a wisdom save, all of your melee attacks or ranged attacks that are close enough will become automatic critical hits, meaning all of our divine smites, any additional d4s of elemental damage we tack onto our fighting, will all be critical hits, making gigantic, massive attacks. Our next level in Warlock is going to open up a feat in which we're going to pick the dual wielding feat. This is going to allow us to hold 2 non-light weapons in both hands and increase our AC at the same time. Normally, this would then split our attacks between one hand being a charisma modifier weapon and the other hand being a dexterity or strength modifier weapon. But we're going to use a specific rapier into this combination that is going to be specifically our charisma modifier, so we won't have to worry about that. Our next level in Warlock is going to open up our second attack, and then this second attack is only going to be granted to the weapon that has the pact on it. That's not going to be a problem or anything, I just want to make sure that's clear. We'll also have access to 3rd level spells, and that is when we get the holy grail of this entire build, Hypnotic Pattern. Hypnotic Pattern is a insanely huge AoE attack that when they fail a wisdom save, it is going to hypnotize a target, making them unable to take any kind of actions for 2 whole turns. The massive part of its AoE is usually a downside, as it can also grab some of your party members, but we're going to augment this later with meta magic to completely remove our allies out of that range. This spell is absolutely nuts. Definitely abuse it as much as you can. It even works and can be casted in silence. As this is the last level of Warlock we'll have, I definitely suggest you replacing a spell for Hunger of Hadar. This is a massive AoE spell that blinds all targets. It inflicts both acid and cold damage and is difficult terrain for targets. As we're immune to blindness, we can stay outside of this and just shoot Eldritch Blast into people and they can do nothing about it. Our next level is going to go into Sorcerer, and here we are at level 8. This is about the endish of Act 2 when we will be moving out of armor. So I highly suggest picking up a Dragon Ancestry. This is going to act as basically mage armor that you don't have to cast. When not wearing armor, you'll have a +3 to your AC at all times. Plus, our +3 dexterity would bring us to a 16. And that's going to be +1 for our dual wielding to a 17, +1 for our ropes to an 18, and our shoes later will give us another +1, bring us to 19. As far as spells go, definitely pick up shield, and magic missile is always a good failsafe. Our next level in Sorcerer is going to give us meta magic. Meta magic is going to unlock a bunch of cool stuff that we can use on our Warlock spells. Careful Spell is definitely one I suggest highly. Another one I suggest is Twin Spell. Twin Spell is very fun. It will not work on Eldritch Blast, but it's a unique way to upcast like Hold Person without having to use a beefier spell slot. Our next level in Sorcerer, I want to take a quick break to tell you why we're even putting so much into Sorcerer. The major big point that we're putting so many levels into Sorcerer is because we need the spell slots to Divine Smite more than just a few times. Base Paladin and base Warlock only give you so many spell slots, meaning that you're not going to be able to smite that much with dual wielding. We want to smite every single time we swing one of these rapiers. With Sorcerer, not only do we get additional ways to augment the cool Warlock spells that we have, but we now have sorcery points that we can drain back into more spell slots to do more Divine Smites. Anyway, back to topic. You get new meta magic choices here, Heightened and Quickened Spell. There's a good argument for both. Heightened Spell will totally knock out anyone in the range that you use your Hypnotic Pattern, but Quickened Spell will let you do an Eldritch Blast on your bonus action and let you go for 2 more swings with your main hand rapier. But here's the thing, we have an offhand attack with the rapier that we could just use with their bonus action. So without doing a Quicken Spell, you could just still Eldritch Blast regularly and then just go swipe at them. Our next level in Sorcerer is going to open up our next feat where we can bring our Charisma modifiers to 18. Our next level in Sorcerer opens up 3rd level Sorcerer spells. Haste is also a very good option for any dual wielder, something that I suggest that you cast on them from maybe another party member, and who can get mad at a good old fireball. Onto equipment. Now, the rapiers that we're using for this build are very specific. Until you unlock these rapiers, I do suggest using any +1 scimitars that you can find at weapon stores. Speedy Reply is also a good scimitar you can find at the opening of the cave where you fight all of the gnolls. But the first major weapon we're gonna find is the Infernal Rapier. This is a rapier that you get gifted to you by Minzora at the end of Act 2. This rapier is really dope. It looks bitchin'. It's gonna let us use our Charisma modifier instead of our Dexterity, and it's gonna give us a 6th level action to summon a Cambion to help us fight. When you're approaching the end of Act 2, make sure you have Will in your party. When you reach Minzora, tell her that you deserve another reward, and after a quick check, she will give you this rapier for free. The next rapier we're going to get is going to go in our main hand, and we're going to keep the infernal one in our offhand. This rapier is called the Harmonic Dueler. You can purchase this at the Dancing Axe shop in Rivington right at the beginning of Act 3. The Harmonic Dueler lets you use a skill that lets you make a quick performance, and that performance is going to give you, for 10 turns, an additional damage equal to your Charisma modifier. We're going to make this our packed weapon and then harmonize before any kind of large fight. You can do this once a short rest, so it's not a super tight ability. You can do it and make mistakes. It'll be fine. Having proficiency in performance as a skill would be pretty helpful, and casting guidance on yourself prior to using this skill will also help you. Our next is our armor, and our armor is going to be the potent robes. The potent robes are really dope. They add a +1 to our AC, and they add our charisma modifier onto our cantrips. And this does stack with agonizing blast, meaning that our charisma modifier is now doubled for each one of our blasts. While we're augmenting our Eldritch Blast, we're also going to put on the Shutter Spine Amulet. You can find this at Moonrise Towers at the second door-ish. After Kethric's room, you'll find a chest that's actually a mimic, and in its body, you'll find this. With every hit of a ranged spell attack, you will stack on 2 stacks of Reverberation. And since we'll be shooting 3 Eldritch Blasts with 1 action, this is going to completely knock them on their ass. They'll take additional thunder damage. They'll have -6 to their strength, dex, and constitution saving throws. It's nuts. And continuing the theme, we're going to grab the Ring of Arcane Synergy from the Crush. Every time you cast a cantrip that hurts someone, you're going to get Arcane Synergy, therefore adding your charisma modifier once again to all of our melee attacks. I would wear the Disintegrating Mistwalkers for most of the game until you get your new pair in Act 3. You'll find these off of Veneer's body. They're really dope. You can't slip on ice or grease, you can't be in webs, and you can cast Misty Step. But the Bone Spike Gloves add more to your AC and our saving throws, because we're not going to be wearing armor or holding shields, increases our jump distance, and augments it into a fun little brutal leap. You can find those down the path to the left, right at the bridge at the end of Rivington. You'll find a fight between the Stone Lords people and the guild. After that's done, go into the pirate cave right at the end, and then you'll find these as part of that treasure. Unfortunately, Paladin doesn't offer us the fighting style 2-weapon fighting, but we can get around that by using the Gloves of Balanced Hands, purchasable by Quartermaster Tally at the Last Light Inn. These will use our modifiers onto our offhand attacks. Pretty important for regular dual wielding, but seeing how every one of our attacks can turn into a huge Divine Smite, it's not a deal breaker. And lastly, our hat is going to be the Birthright. This is a hat that you can purchase at Sorcerer Sundries at Act 3. This is going to increase our charisma score by 2. Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. I want to thank again Blackstar25 for the request. If you have a request, go ahead and drop it in the comments. And a big special thank you to all my sponsors, but especially these guys right here. Anyone in the Adventurer Hire and the YouTube memberships get put in the ending credits and automatically get enrolled into a raffle that gets pulled every Sunday. Last week, Jacob Geller was one of the few winners that I picked to win a shirt, and he wanted to give it off to another subscriber. So the very first person who puts a comment, me with an exclamation point, is gonna win the Arcane Eye t-shirt that we were giving away last Sunday. I thought that was really cool of Jake. I actually sent him a shirt anyway, so we're just spreading the love around. Alright guys, thank you very much for watching my weird videos. Bye!